Hello and welcome to another edition of Ask the Experts here on 570 News Radio. I'm joined today by Scott Henderson, goes by Scottie, Realtor with eXp Realty. Scottie was born and raised in the Waterloo region. He's been honing his craft in the real estate world for over a decade now. He's a dad, a husband, a partner, and when it comes to real estate, he treats his clients like family. His approach to selling your home could be described as unconventional, as he takes the marketing dial and turns it all the way up to 11. Scottie, welcome to the show.
Taking it up to 11. Thanks for having me on. This is exciting. I'm excited to talk to you today.
I'm happy to have you here. Listeners, if you would like any more information about the topics we discuss on the show today, you can start your journey at Scottie's website, scottieh.com. On the website, you can send him a message. You can also email him, agent@scottieh@gmail.com. Phone works as well, too, 519-577-7588.
That's right. And it's Scottie with an IE.
Scottie with an IE. That's right. I should have spelled it out.
Hey, it's all good.
No worries. So, Scottie, it's your first visit to Ask the Experts. The floor is yours for the next hour. Maybe we can start with some background. Who is Scottie Henderson and how did he end up where he is today?
Well, you nailed it by I'm a dad and partner. That to me is my why and why I do what I do. But my journey's been quite interesting. So I was a shy kid.
Yeah.
I had a few friends. I was very shy. And then I started to come out of my shell around 15, 16. Started to get involved in things. Yeah. And then I went all in. So I started, my family knew who I am, but I didn't show it to anyone else, right? Because I was shy. So my close friends were like, this guy is fun and you know, likes to be out there, but everyone else, I was shy. So as I started coming out of my shell, I actually was approached by a Fortune 500 company while I was making a decision of where to go for university.
Right.
To take on a marketing position if I stayed in Waterloo. So this was exciting. Recruited out of high school to do marketing for a major company. Wow. So I took advantage of that and said, I'm in. So I went to UW, and marketing and events were my job for the first few years. And then I fell in love with it. Yeah. So I started my own event and marketing company that I did my entire 20s. And I threw approximately 1,000 events. I launched multiple venues. Big companies would hire me to do marketing seminars, train employees for certain things. And essentially, I was the guy. I launched some major beverages, helped friends launch gyms and other things. But essentially, I was the guy that you would call if you wanted everyone to know about something.
Right.
And that was my 20s. But then I'm 28 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm coming home at 4 a.m. The event world is a late night world.
Yeah. You're not starting at 9 o'clock in the morning and wrapping up at 4.
No, it's evenings, right? Yeah. So, and I sat down with one of my mentors and his name's Vic, and we were going through, and he was like, do you know what you'd be really good at? You should use all your marketing background to do real estate, because people aren't doing the kind of stuff you do for marketing. So you should really get into that. And the more I thought about it, a lot of my friends were buying houses, and I thought this would be a good move. And in the end, everything revolved around, I wanted to be a good dad,
right,
and a good partner. And I felt that if I was coming home at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, and now having 3 kids, I know 4 o'clock in the morning is when they're getting up. So I would have been coming home and they'd be getting up being like, Daddy, let's play. And I'd be like, I need to go to bed. So I'm happy I made the decision I made, and got into real estate. So
and going back to those days, as you were saying, back in your 20s, I would think that social media was maybe just taking off at that point.
Yeah.
But now that's kind of the bread and butter in a lot of ways when it comes to what you're doing and maybe what other people are doing as well.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And that's helped me a lot because I had to learn how to market things with handshakes and relationship building, right? So that was before social media. If you wanted 1,000 people to go to an event, you needed to get to know enough people and bring them and invite them. And I did a lot of marketing for Oktoberfest, which is one of Canada's biggest festivals. I did that also for 15 years, so which was very important, which is very important to me from a community standpoint. So my early part of my career was more the relationship building to do the marketing. And then, yes, I had to learn social media as it came out. And that was a big part of the transition.
You talk about the idea that clients you treat them like family. How important is it for you to build that rapport and that relationship with the people that you're working with?
For me, if someone is putting their trust in me to help them with such a huge thing. So real estate is beyond just an investment. It's where you're living. It's where your kids are going to go to school.
Right.
It's your surroundings. It's everything. And it's, to most people, it's their biggest asset. Yeah. So this is a huge decision. So when I meet with someone, I am taking that very seriously. Yeah. So my mentality is, what would I advise my brother to do? Right? What would I advise my mom to do? Right? I'm treating them in a sense of, do I think this is good for them? And would this be the advice I would give a family member? Because I know how important it is. And it's great because it allows me to develop a relationship on a deeper level. I'm talking people out of houses more than I'm talking them into it. Right. And we can get into that a little bit later. We're going to do a conversation a little bit about the process of buying a house. Absolutely. But like the advice I'm giving is definitely, do I think this is a good move for you?
Right.
And I'm trying to advise them along the way.
Your background prior to real estate, you talk about this idea. It's definitely shaped you. Where are you right now? Where are you in your journey right now when it comes to the job that you do? We talked about the fact that, you take that marketing, you do things differently than a lot of other people. And what's the goal and what would people be expecting if they're going to be working with you? Sure.
So I'm definitely at a tipping point in a good way. So leading up, from 2012 to 2018, I completely did real estate the way I thought realtors were supposed to do real estate. You would have seen me in a full suit, tie, and I would have done things. I had a clipboard. I had a mentality of what I thought a realtor should be, and I essentially molded myself to be what I thought a realtor should be for the first 6 years of my career. Then actually on my honeymoon, because I have such a marketing background, I was getting calls from people starting businesses saying, "Hey, how do I get the word out on my business? How do I do this? How do I do this?" And I was giving them advice, and my wife just looked at me and said, "Pick one of those things. Yeah. Any one of the things you just said, and do it. And it's time you do real estate as you."
There you go.
So I came back in 2018, hired my wedding videographer, said, "Hey, guess what? I know you do weddings. You're now going to do real estate videos." And he's like, "Okay, what do you have in mind?" Lives in London. He drives here. He's amazing. His name's Andrew Price, A Motion Films. And he literally helped me come up with, I was like, this is who I am. You know who I am. This is what we're going to do. And we started portraying, instead of me, the realtor I thought I should be, I was just like, I'm going to portray myself as me.
Yeah.
And the people that like it will be attracted, and the people that don't, they're not going to use me anyways, right? So you can't appeal to everybody in any industry or any service. There's going to be some people that don't like what you do and some people that do. So if you're yourself, you'll at least attract the people that like you for who you are.
Smartest decision in your life, marrying a wife, sounds like.
100%. Yeah. And then having kids.
Well, there you go. They
are the 4 most important things in my life. And I I wouldn't have my kids without my wife. And my wife is not only my best friend, but she's my everything.
We're talking with Scottie Henderson of eXp Realty this hour. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take some time to talk about active marketing. You're listening to Ask the Experts here on 570 News Radio.
Asking the questions to the people who know.
Ask the Experts with Brock Greenhalgh continues in a moment on 570 News Radio.
Welcome back to the show. I have the pleasure of talking with Scottie Henderson, Realtor with eXp Realty. Today, Scottie has over a dozen years of experience in the local real estate market, and he employs some very effective ways to market your home. Listeners, if you'd like more information about the topics discussed on the show today, start your journey at the website scottieh.com, SCOTTIEH.com. On the website, you can send him a message. You can also email him, agent, ScottieH, same spelling, @gmail.com. The phone works just as well, too, 519-577-7588. Scott, one of the key things that caught my attention when you first reached out, you talk about the idea of doing real estate in a completely different way. What does that look like these days?
Sure, yeah. So standard listing, you want to sell your house. We put a sign in the ground, we take photos, you go on realtor.ca.
Yeah.
So that's a standard listing.
Yeah.
I take the marketing agency background that I have and say, I don't want people to just find the listing on realtor.ca. I want to put it in front of people. Mm-hmm. And I do that through video. So first I start out by staging and prepping the house so that all the marketing will be as professional as possible. Then we do professional photos, floor plans, virtual tour, because I know from a marketing side that there's different brain types. Some people need to see the virtual tour to understand the layout of the house with the floor diagrams. Other people can look at photos and they understand, okay, this is the kitchen, all that. And there's another set of people that are just going to watch a video because that's now the world we're in. People are watching videos online. So then I do a long full tour, kind of HGTV style of walking through the house. Yep. These are the porcelain counters. This is why this is important. Here's your bedrooms. Look at all the space for activities, stuff like that. And then I do a hook video because Instagram has the 90-second reel hook. And then I use those videos to do targeted advertising. Okay. So to give you an example, on realtor.ca, I have a listing, and in 2 weeks, it has 1,290 views. Mm-hmm. So that means people on realtor.ca found it, looked at it. It has 665 actions now. Okay. And the second week, it only got 150 actions. So the longer you're on the market, you get less traction. Right. So when I saw that was something that on every listing, right, I was like, okay, you get less traction. How do you create something that then brings people to these listings? Yeah. And so I use the video and I use targeted advertising. So I gave you those numbers, 1,290 views, 660 something actions. Yeah. On the ads and the videos that I'm doing for that listing, I have over 300,000 views. Wow. In 2 weeks of the full tour. Yep. So that's full walkthrough, everything about the house and the musical hook. So I do fun. So again, the idea behind the music is I have no musical experience. But I'm a marketer. Yeah, oh, yeah. And I know that rhyming, musical, there's a reason why there's jingles. Right? So things stick in heads when it's rhyming or it's musical. So I know that's an effective marketing tool. So that's why I do it. Knowing full well that the music is what it is, but it sticks in people's heads. And if I can get buyers to sing addresses while they go to bed, that's a huge win. So going back to the stats, so 3,300 views and over 8,000 actions. So 600 actions by listing it normally, and 8,000 actions so that's people looking at the photos, floor plans, virtual tour. Right. So that translates to way more exposure, So combined, that's almost 300 times the amount of people that know it's for sale, and it's 12 times the amount of people looking at the actual listing. So do you think that's valuable?
Well, I was going to say, do you do some feedback, or can you ask for feedback to say to the person who ends up buying the house, hey, where did you find out about this?
I get the feedback.
Yeah, and that's got to be number one.
So
right?
on offer day, I get from the realtors, hey, client saw your video, they love it, blah, blah, blah. I had a lawyer call me, say, and lawyers don't call realtor. Like, lawyer.
Not for good calls.
No,
anyway.
lawyer called me. I'm freaking out because it's on a house that he's representing the buyer.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, I just want to let you know the seller was singing your song while he's signing the papers. Nice. And I'm laughing, and I'm like, the buyer was singing the song? And he's like, yeah. And he's representing the other side, right?
Yeah.
But he wanted to let me know. So, yes, I for sure get that feedback, which is incredible. And to me, that's just amazing.
The other thing that I was thinking about, you've got to build trust with your clients, because the first few times you come to a client and say, look, I want to make a video in your backyard, and I want to play guitar, and and some people might be like, oh, hey man, that's not really my thing, but they've come to you for a reason, and I'm sure they've done a little bit of their own homework to say, this is what I'm going to get with Scottie.
For sure. And I think the thing to remember is this is all marketing, and everything else. So you have the professional photos. Your house is staged. Like, so for the people that don't relate to that, I have all professional marketing for everything else, and the marketing that I'm doing for video is still very professional, right? And the thing to remember is it's exposure and people clicking on the listing. So and the people that may be a little wary about the fact that I'm doing it so outlandishly is when I can show them those numbers and I can say, do you want 600 people clicking on your listing, or do you want 8,000? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like it's a no-brainer, right?
And so, it's all in good taste. It's done, the tongue's in the cheek, and you're having some fun with it. And I would think that a lot of people respond positively to that as well.
Yeah, and I think so if we put this into a different, so maybe people don't buy and sell houses on a daily basis. So, but if you think about a car, if you had a DeLorean for sale, and you could park it on your front lawn and say for sale. That's the equivalent of a sign being in the ground. Then you could put it on Auto Trader. Right. That's like it being on Realtor.ca. Right. But imagine you had that DeLorean, and then you did a video of it. Right. And then you did targeted ads to everyone looking for classic cars, everyone that's fan of the 80s, and everyone that loves Back to the Future. In what situation are you going to sell your DeLorean for more money? Yeah. Exactly. Right? Like, you're targeting people that are looking for it. Right. With something visual in a video. To me, I'm taking that concept, which is my old world of marketing and everything, and I'm now just applying it to real estate. And unfortunately, I've only been doing that side of it for about 5 years, even though I've been doing it for 12. But I've noticed my business went from doing okay in real estate up to 2018 to the second I switched to being myself. Everything changed.
Well, the energy that you would bring to that, if it's not a job, right? If this is something that if it's who you are, they always say that the best job's the one where it doesn't feel like you're doing
100%,
right?
Yeah.
I would think you talked about in the pre-show notes that idea of active marketing. So, are there other aspects to active marketing that people should be aware of or should know about?
Yeah. So, passive marketing is sign in the ground. Realtor, the concept of passive marketing is waiting for people to find you. Yeah. Active marketing is putting your product, in my case, the house I'm selling, in front of people. Right. So, and I think that's an element that's missing in real estate. So, and I know I've found that, and that's something that I wasn't doing before 2018. And it's not something that I ever hear realtors talk about. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, this is I'm running these ads specifically targeted so that the house gets more views. That's my whole pitch. Yeah. And that's not something that is commonplace in my industry. So that's where, for me, I feel like that is a differentiator, and I put the big emphasis of what value I'm providing my clients is how many. It's not how many people know your house is for sale because of the traditional methods. It's how many extra people am I making know your house is for sale.
And we talked about this off the start, that idea of social media. If you can get something to be viral, the idea of, hey man, have you seen this video this guy put out about
100%.
the house? How important is that word of mouth to you?
Marketing is everything. So so I'm tracking how many shares. I'm getting excited when lots of people are sharing it, sending it to friends, right? Tagging their friends in the video, because these are things like that person knows that the person they're tagging is looking for a house and they think that this might be a good fit for them. And yeah, it's very important. To me, in real estate, when selling, especially in the fact that we have so many, inventory has gotten a lot higher than it was. So 1,600 available units in the region of Waterloo. So how do you stand out? Well, you stand out by actively marketing your house.
There you go. You know what? We're coming to the bottom of the hour. We'll take a quick break. We'll get an update from the 570 newsroom. When we come back, Home Buying 101. You're listening to Ask the Experts here on 570 News Radio.
Ask the Experts with Brock Greenhalgh continues in a moment on 570 News Radio.
Welcome back to the show. We've been chatting with Scottie Henderson. Scottie was born and raised in the Waterloo region. He has a deep background in marketing, and he helps to share your home with thousands of prospective buyers. Scott, before the break, we were talking about active marketing, but if we were to step back a bit, for those who've never bought a house, probably, as you were saying, it's the biggest financial decision most of us will ever make. What do people need to know? What does Home Buying 101 look like to you?
Sure. It's a lot. So make sure you align yourself with somebody that's going to be there taking you every step of the way. And I deal with a lot of first-time home buyers. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you about this today is because the amount of people that comment on my videos saying, like, who has $800,000 or who has $1.3 million? Yeah. People don't. No. Right? So, like, they don't. They get a mortgage. That's right. Right? So I realize that it's very important to kind of go through every single step. So first, you figure out who you want to work with from a real estate side, and you figure out who you want to work with from a mortgage side. I love mortgage brokers because mortgage brokers have access to all the different lenders, whereas if you just go into your bank, they only have their product, right? And bank products are amazing. There's nothing wrong with them, but the advantage of going with a mortgage broker, they can still get you a TD mortgage, they can still get you a Scotia mortgage, or RBC, whatever, but they can also get you all the other ones. Right. So you get your pre-approval, so you find out how much money you can afford. But then here's the kicker. Say you get a number, and you're excited about the number that you got, have them break down what that actually costs a month. Right. Because that is what you're paying monthly, and that's what your paychecks are going into. So, and if that number that is your monthly amount is too high, well, then maybe you should try to buy something cheaper than what you're max approved for. If all those numbers line up and you're like, yeah, this is great, go to see, talk to your realtor and say, okay, like, let's start on my lower end. So say you get pre-approved for $800,000 and you're excited and you're like, oh my goodness, I can buy anything. Maybe go see some stuff that's $700,000 and see if you like it. Yeah. Because if you like it, and then it's a lot easier to move up than it is to move down. Absolutely. Right? So if you go see the 700s, but you're approved to 800 and you're like, okay, I need more, then go see some 750s. And then do you need more? Okay, well, then I'm going to go to my max. But start under your max just so that you can handle now owning a home, because owning a home does come with the furnace breaks, the roof needs to be fixed. So going under is always something I try to encourage my clients to do. Then the realtor will set up an auto search for you based on your criteria. So how many bedrooms, baths, and all that. And you start to go see houses. And as you go through, you'll notice that some houses look too good to be true. And this is the offer hold strategy. So when you're listing your house, some people list for their dream amount that they're never going to get. And a house that's worth $800,000 might be listed for $900,000. So they listed it too high. Someone else will be listing that $800,000 house for $800,000, offer any time. Yep. And they're listed right to the comparable value. And then that same house will be listed for $700,000, holding offers to an offer day, expecting to get $800,000. Yeah. So this is where a good realtor and having someone by your side can help you. So what we're doing when we're going to see houses is doing a market analysis of the most recent sales. So because the market is fluctuating so much right now, I'm looking at sales within the last 2 weeks to a month, not the last 3 months. Okay. So if I'm taking you out to see houses and you're like, Scottie, this house is incredible. I love it. It's only $700,000. I would look everything up and say, okay, just so you know, the neighbor, who is the same model home, also has a finished basement, just sold for $792 last week. Mm-hmm. They're holding offers, so their expectation is probably going to be around that $792. Right? And so all my advice is based on sold data, not what other things are listed for. And I try to explain to my clients that when buying a house, the list price is a marketing price. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's what the seller wants. It's what they're listed for to attract buyers in a specific range. When we're offering, it's all based on sold data. And the reason why I do that is when I'm dealing with a buyer, my mentality is if something happened and all of a sudden 6 months later, they get a great opportunity to move out west and take a new job. And that's the positive things that could happen. We all know the negative things that could happen, right? But if that happened in 6 months, do I think I could make them money? Or at least get their money back? And that's always my mentality. So in order to do that, I have to advise people to make offers based on statistical data. And again, with the same mentality of treating everyone like they're my family. Right. It's like, well, if this was my brother offering on this house, what would I tell him to offer? So it makes it so that we're never overpaying, right? We're doing it based on data, and I'm always making sure my clients are in a good position in the event that life happens, because guess what? Life happens, right? So
exactly. When and I would think about this, you talked about this right off the bat, where people were coming to you with questions, and if you're building that rapport and you're building that relationship, people are more willing to say, hey, Scott, can you talk me through this?
100%.
They wouldn't want to do that with a stranger necessarily, but they feel comfortable being able to do that. What sort of misinformation comes your way and you have to be like, oh yeah, let's sort this out. Let's sort this out right now so that you're not worrying about this down the road, sort of.
Yeah, so great question. I'd say the biggest misinformation is that, just to use that same example, so like if you're buying a $700,000 house, people seem to think you need to have $700,000, right? So I get a lot of comments on my videos saying, who has $700,000? The reality is you need 5% up to 510%, above that up to $1 million. So on 700, you need $45,000 for your down payment. Then there would be land transfer tax, and locally you just pay one of them. Right. So you in Toronto you pay double land transfer tax. If you're a first-time home buyer, you get a $4,000 credit, but the total amount of money needed on $700,000 purchase is around $60,000, which is a lot less than $700,000. Exactly. Right? Exactly. So that is something that I definitely hear all the time. Like, I think every house I post, someone will say, who has $1.4 million? Right. Who has $600,000? Like, whatever I'm listed for, whatever house it is, someone will post who has that. And the reality is no one does. No. Right? No. Like, people are putting down an amount for a down payment, and then the rest they are mortgaging. That's that would be the main misconception, especially when buying. And then I'd say the other misconception is that list price is what sellers want. Right. People still use that language a lot, and I'm constantly telling my buyers that, like, they want a little bit more than what their neighbor sold for yesterday. Yeah. Right? Like, right? Like, so no matter what it's listed for, right? Like, if the neighbor sold for 1.2 million yesterday and you have the exact same house, you're hoping that you get more than 1.2. Yeah. And if the market is worse than when your neighbor sold 2 weeks ago, you should offer less. If the market is better than it was 2 weeks ago when they sold, then you're probably going to be paying a little bit more. Right. Are people getting creative when it comes to buying their first home these days? Do you see, friends getting together to make a purchase, or people getting together like as family members to make these purchases? What's coming through the door? For sure. Yeah. Affordability is very difficult right now, and it's definitely more in the news now, but affordability has been an issue for years. Yeah. It is not brand new. But the high interest rates definitely accentuate that. So because it is so difficult to afford housing, people are getting creative. So, okay, best friends, two couples, right. Mom and dad living in the basement, or you living in the basement while mom and dad live in the main floor. Yeah. I've been seeing that for the past few years. It's definitely something that it allows people to get into home ownership. It allows you to qualify for more money to purchase. And for people that really want to get into home ownership but aren't in a position to do it on their own. And again, going back to my example where you need $60,000 to buy $700. Well, if two people are coming to the table, then you each need $30. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And your bills are half. Right. Because you're both paying half the mortgage. And so I'm seeing people that aren't in romantic relationships, that are just friends that are buying together. People that are in romantic relationships that are buying together. I'm seeing it all. Yeah, and people do have to be creative. It's where we're at right now. Listen, we'll take one final break. Please stick around, though. When we come back, what does the market look like these days? You're listening to Ask the Experts here on 570 News Radio. Scott, we know that the Bank of Canada, they just announced a third rate reduction last week. What's the state of the market these days in the region? What's happening? Yeah, so inventory is high. Oh, good. And which means there's lots of options for buyers. The last two rate reductions actually didn't have a big effect on the market. We've been relatively stable price-wise. Like we drop a little bit, tiny bit. Traditionally, August is a weaker month. Mm-hmm. So the combination of the rate decrease and the fall market of September hitting could actually have an effect. I'm noticing my phone's ringing a lot since September hit. Essentially, I was expecting that this weekend, being a long weekend, no one would contact me, and I've been slammed. That's good. So I think the combination of it really comes down to the dialogue around that rate reduction. Right. So the first two, I found that the dialogue was kind of, we reserve the right to increase the rates if inflation isn't controlled. Right. But I found that the dialogue now in the media is we are going to have continued rate reductions. So that's shifted the mentality of buyers, I think. But in general, affordability is still an issue. So it's definitely going to have a positive impact, but at the same time, even with the interest rates at where they are, it's still tough for a lot of people to qualify for a mortgage.
But if you probably have some, like you were saying, some people that have been standing on the sidelines,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, things are starting to move, and you don't want to put it off too long. And we all kind of lead into that herd mentality sometime, right? It might be get in. Price might still be a little bit beyond what you're, just a little bit out of that comfort zone. But maybe you take a mortgage for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you take a shorter term and looking at it that way. When we take a look at the region specifically, the physical landscape of the communities have changed. We see a lot more high-rise towers going up. They're all along the LRT. That was the idea that the region had to bring people back to the central part of the cities. Having that many condos on the market, does that impact the way that you do business as a realtor?
I think in general, the condo market is definitely slower than the single detached and the townhouse and the semi-detached market, like the condo apartment market, but it's because of the amount of inventory. I think the mentality shift. So I have clients that grew up in Toronto, and their mentality was, we live in apartment condos, right? They grew up downtown Toronto, and so for them, it's the dream isn't the detached house with the yard. They like the idea of condo with amenities, walk down to Vincenzo's and grab yourself a beautiful lunch and then walk back upstairs. So it's for a different type of buyer, but also like as single detached becomes higher priced, it becomes a reality for a lot of people to get into the market. So condos are great for people that are downsizing, people that want the convenience of being right in the heart of everything. And it's great for people that are trying to get into real estate so that they at least own something. They're not paying a rent. They're paying something. They can take advantage of the convenience and the amazing amenities, and then it can be a stepping stone for a lot of people. But I mean, they're essentially the exact same as selling anything else, right? The more people that know it's for sale, and the more you can get it in front of people, the better position you're going to be in to sell it, right? So
when you're on the street, do people say, "Hey, you're the realtor guy"? Have you had that come up already?
More often than my wife would like. So if we go for dinner or we go to the movies, we do anything. Now
You
it's
the ball cap on now, the sunglasses.
No, I'm wearing the same leopard print jacket when I'm out or whatever, and I love it because it gives me an opportunity to talk to people about real estate, right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
People will stop. People will honk their car and be like, "Hey!"
And that leads to my next question. If someone's looking to work with you as a realtor, what steps do you go through in building that relationship? Do you want to have a sit down with them at first? How do you get that going?
At minimum, it's a phone call, but I always suggest we meet. So a lot of times I like to do coffee, get to know each other, and the reality is they're hiring me, but I'm also like agreeing to work with them, right?
Yeah.
So it's we want to build a rapport and see if it's a good fit, right? So it's so important to have that relationship because it builds a trust that then leads to everything else throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to feel comfortable with you, and I want you to feel comfortable with me, and then let's see how we can work together.
And I would think it's not a one and done. It's not like, okay, I got your house, you're good, and see you have a great life. No, it's
forever.
Yeah.
I'm uncle to a million kids, right? Like because they become my clients become friends and become family members, right? So it's something I put a lot of importance into because people are important to me and they deserve to be treated well.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Is there a time when Scottie can turn it off and just be dad?
No.
Okay.
I wish there was. And that's the hardest part about real estate in general. So I was at a cottage this weekend. Anyone who knows me, if they're listening, they'll be like, wait, you were gone? You took 2 days off? And, I had my phone on. I was approving showings on my listings. I was responding to buyers that wanted to go out this week.
Right.
I had Yeah. So I'm never off, but at the same time, what I try to do is I try to pick a part of every day that I can be a dad.
Good.
So
Good.
my phone is still on, but I'm like, if I have showings in the evening and I have a listing appointment in the afternoon, well, then maybe my kid doesn't go to school in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. And I spend some time and things like that. Right. Or I make sure that I'm around for breakfast, wake them up early. I always make sure that there's part of the day that I give to my 3 boys. And there's also part of the day that I give to my wife, because at the end of the day, they are my everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. When you're 95, it's not going to be looking at all the houses you sold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. If there would be a number one takeaway for the listeners on Ask the Experts today, what would you say? What's if you're going to wrap it up in 30 seconds? What would you say?
Marketing matters. It is the most important thing, in my opinion, in real estate. And the more people that know your house is for sale, the better chance you have of not only selling, but selling for the most money. So if you can get your house in front of more eyes and have more people sharing it, talking about it, maybe singing your address as they go to sleep. But the more people that know, the better position you're in, right? So, and that's my pitch, right? It's marketing matters.
Is there what's next? What's next for Scottie? Are there other ways to come at this world of real estate that you haven't tapped into?
I'm constantly evolving, and you know, I'm always going to be looking for the best way to showcase my clients' houses, and you know, if something comes out after video and there's ways to do crazy AI tours and stuff, I'll be there. Like I'm always going to be looking for the best ways to market houses, and I want to help more families. I want to help more people, and
Scott,
be the best dad possible.
Well, and you've got that down, and I like that idea of you talking about the time in your day for your kids, for your partner. Like you said, you got to make sure you've got time for the most important things. Thanks for giving us some of that time today. We appreciate you coming by.
I really appreciate being here with you. You're a great guy, and I love talking to you today.
I'm happy to have you here. As I said, we were off on a break. That idea of your passion for the work that you do, that positive impact you can have on other people's lives is evident. So I'm hoping you're going to come back on the show.
Hey, whenever you want me, I'm here.
All right. Listeners, if you want your own chance to chat with Scottie, start your journey at the website, ScottieH.com. On the website, you can send him your own message. You can also email him, agentscottieh@gmail.com. The phone works as well, 519-577-7588. And thanks to you, listeners, for tuning in. You've been listening to Ask the Experts here on 570 News Radio.